Hello, Facebook friends, and welcome to Wednesday Wine with Ana Belaval. Yours truly coming live to you from Chicago, Illinois. In the news for all sorts of reasons, but today we've made it to Hump Day. Wednesday Wine is so that you and I can enjoy a glass of whatever you'd like to drink, put it in a pretty glass, toast yourself for making it to the middle of the week. As I told you, don't like Wednesdays. So you are my excuse to have a happy hour midweek. Who is saying hello to us and from where today? It's nice to see you, Mark and Joe. Deb, welcome. It's hot outside and we are still holding our breath with this whole quarantine situation. But life continues. I've gone back to work on the street. I'm a reporter for WGM Morning News, as you know, but I love these little moments that I have with you guys during Wednesday Wine. Oh, Brenda. Hello, beautiful Berwyn. I have to say, Berwyn has some good restaurants that I frequent. Oh, Joseph having some Stella in Irving, in Irvin. Worth, Illinois is saying hello. This is wonderful, guys. Hi, Sandy. It's nice to see you. Hi from Barrington. Oh, Joe, I hope you're having something fancy if you're from Barrington. I'm just kidding. I'm going to have a little drink. Perfection. Did you notice? I put it in a grown-up glass today. I'm hoping the kids don't get to it. But I have to be honest. I'm the one that breaks everything here. The kids rarely break anything. Crystal Lake is saying hello. Maria Algonquin. Hi, Stephanie. Champaign-Urbana. Do you know that I've never been to Champaign-Urbana? It's a shame. With a friend like Robin Baumgarten, who went to University of Illinois, I should have gone there already. Joe from Chicago, have a beautiful Wednesday, hump day. Thank you, Joe. Hello. Loved meeting you in Riverside. That's awesome. Oh, yeah, that was fun, Meredith. I had a great time. I am having probably a Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon. And it's a brand called La Crema, which I really like because it's under $20. I think I can get it for $15. And if you go to Costco, or as my family calls it, Coco, then you can get it maybe for $11. I don't spend a lot on my wine. If I see a nice wine from Italy or France for $10, I get it. No shame in my game. I've been watching these Wednesday wines and Simone, are you for sure from Italy? Ciao dell'Italia. Buongiorno. Allá must be buonasera, I guess, right? Happy Wednesday, Jennifer. I know, I heard the campus of University of Illinois is very pretty. You know, I've been watching these Wednesday wines and I see myself drinking on camera and I'm waiting for my mom to say, por Dios, Ana Maria, that doesn't look nice. Because it doesn't. Like the person's talking and I'm chugging wine. I don't know. What do you think? Should I stop doing that on camera? It's not as polite. And then none of my guests drink. It's so funny. I'm really hoping that Kristen has a glass of something, even if it's water, so that I'm not the only one drinking alone. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kristen, our guest today. So I'm going to admit something to you. One of my biggest fears, and that's something you don't know about me. I'm a very catastrophic person. I'm always thinking something bad's going to happen. For as much of a blessed life I've had, I'm constantly thinking, and I don't know how many of you are the same way. Give me some likes and hearts and loves. But when things go well, in my brain, I'm constantly thinking this is when the other shoe is going to drop and I'm going to get an illness and I'm going to lose my job and it's going to be awful and I'm not going to be able how to deal with this. I am constantly thinking of the worst case scenario and so I'm prepared when it happens. But as you know, life throws you these curveballs that you're not ever really prepared to handle. Well, my guest today is somebody that I have followed on social media for a very long time because I am super proud of her. When I meet young journalists that for some reason follow me or know about my career, and they are following the path that I think they should follow to make their dreams come true, I'm super proud. And Kristen Aguirre wanted to be a news reporter, a news anchor, and she left everything in Chicago, her very close-knit Mexican family, and moved to, I would say, at least two cities in order to make her dream come true. So a little over a year ago, she's in Denver and she's a news anchor and she has a great group of friends and everything is going well until life throws one of those curveballs. And at age 31, she has a stroke. So, but I want you to see her now because she looks fantastic. And she, ay Dios mío, that smile of yours, woman.
Oh, thank you. I'm the worst case scenario. And look at, I'm fine. So,
Mírate. She's fantastic. She is the worst case scenario and she's
and I'm
fine.
fine.
Kristen, I was telling you off camera and I wanted to say it publicly because I haven't told you this part that I follow you on social media and I was so excited when you got the job in Denver and I was so excited when you became an anchor and then I was so excited because you had a great boyfriend and then the boyfriend disappeared and I noticed you were like in a funk and I was mad about that and I was like I mean like I it was like reality TV for
I
me.
got a better
And
one. Okay.
I know. So I was like all of a sudden when was it? April, right?
April. Mm-hmm.
One weekend in April. I don't know. We don't know anything about you, and you're pretty active in social media. And then the next picture is you in a wheelchair talking
Mm-hmm.
about getting a stroke.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? You
No
are a
more
lot
shock.
young. Cuéntame, what happened?
We still don't know what caused it. And that ship for me has sailed just because it doesn't
Mhm,
matter anymore. I mean, it meant like I'm on the right medication. I'm doing
mhm,
everything I can to stay healthy. I have a healthy diet. I work out every day. Like I'm living the best that I can. Although I will say I was doing that before I had the stroke. So it's like, ay Dios mío, I don't know. But I feel like I'm doing everything and I'm on God's path. So I
mhm,
think I'll be fine. That to me is no longer important to us.
mhm,
Fine. In the beginning, I was
mhm.
obsessed with it, but now it's just, it is what it is.
Okay, but what happened that night? Was it at night and you were alone?
No, taking a nap.
I
Yeah, it was a totally normal morning. I went to a
uh-huh.
spin class and then I went to brunch with my friend. And then I went to a fundraiser for this Latino group that I was part of. And then I had to go to work, but I was running late. And I was like, oh, I can take a quick nap. And I was getting a little bit of a migraine. And I didn't know what, I
Mhm.
just thought it was a headache. Like, oh, I'll take care of it. And I almost called off work because I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to anchor tonight because
Okay.
I have migraine. But it was God. He was like, no, 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 don't do that. Because if I would have called off, no one would have thought to send my boyfriend to come check on me.
Oh.
So I fell asleep and then I missed one of my shows and my coworkers were all very close. They're like, oh, she probably just overslept for a nap. So they called my boyfriend. They were like, hey, you should go check on her. And then we had just started dating and he happened to be working with another reporter friend of mine. Sorry if I'm talking too fast. It's just, So,
No,
uh,
it proves that you're doing great.
so yeah. So the reporter friend that was with him,
Mhm.
he was like, "Oh, let's just go to her house." And Darren would never have gone by himself because he would have thought, he was like imposing on me.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
ended up showing up at my apartment, and I woke up to them banging on the door, and I was scared. So I popped up, and then I collapsed, and I hit my head on my dresser, and I woke up again. I don't know when, like maybe 10, 15 minutes later. Like the timeline is very fuzzy.
Uh-huh.
When I woke up again, they were banging on the door. He's like, let me in, let me in. And I was just screaming at him to stop embarrassing me in front of my neighbors. And he's so sweet. He was like, okay, well, just let me in. And I was like, you're mortifying me. Like, get away from me. And I tried to get up to answer the door, but I couldn't sit up. So I knew something was wrong right there, and panic started to set in. But I just was like, okay, this is going to be fine. Let's figure it out. But by that time, he knew something wasn't right and called the paramedics. And this is how you know you grew up in like a tight Latina house, because all I remember is seeing the paramedics coming in. I was looking at their shoes. I'm like, I just cleaned the floors. I'm half dead worrying about the floors.
No me pises el piso que acabo de trapear.
Oh my God. I was like, please put slippers on. So then, yeah,
Oh my God, Kristen.
that truly is what I was worried about. Like I
So
just,
I thought when you get a stroke, I thought that what you hear is that people can't speak, or they start speaking gibberish, or they don't know what's going on, or they've passed out. Could they understand you?
Well, Darren says that my speech was a little bit slurred. So when you think of stroke, you should think of fast, which is F stands for facial drooping, which is what I had. A stands for your arms. So you try to lift up both arms, and if one is like drooping, that's a sign. And S is for slurred speech, and T means time to call 911.
Okay, so they did it all right.
So those are the symptoms you should be looking for, which I had, and thankfully Darren had called 911. So by the time they got there, they knew they were asking me to like squeeze their hand, and I couldn't. And then they said, "Okay, let's go," and they popped me in the ambulance, and Darren went with me. That's actually how we became boyfriend and girlfriend. I love this story. So the first responder was like, "Who's this guy?" And I was like, "I guess he's my boyfriend." And this is a 33-year-old, 31-year-old single woman. I looked and I go, is that weird? Like, I'm worried if I'm putting pressure on him as I'm sitting in an ambulance. That's horrible. And he's like, it's fine. I was like, okay, great. Thank you. So ladies, if you want a boyfriend, have a near-death experience, and then maybe you'll lock him down.
Yeah, but it goes both ways, because now you can't dump him because he was so good to you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So then your left side was affected. It was a year of recovery. But I remember you saying that emotionally, obviously, this is neurological. My mom has Parkinson's, and I noticed that her emotions are affected, right? And she doesn't feel like herself sometimes. And she'll tell me a cloud falls, like comes over and then lifts the next day.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that could happen. And so I noticed you saying, I don't feel like myself. There's emotional components to this that are those emotional components as frustrating as not being able to move your left side?
To me, those components were much harder than like learning to walk again, because I felt like how I couldn't feel like Kristen. And that to me was really hard. Like, I would look in the mirror and I couldn't even recognize myself because I couldn't even put my own hair in a ponytail, or do makeup, or things that you do like on your own, you're independent, that you take for granted. Like, I had to learn how to go to the bathroom by myself again. And, thankfully my parents dropped everything and left Chicago, came to Denver and lived with me for 3 months, helped me learn how to walk again with my therapist, helped me learn how to go to the bathroom, shower alone. Basically, I felt like they were like re-raising me in a year. And so those little things that make you that you can't do anymore, that's really, I feel, the hardest part. I mean, of course, learning to walk, I always felt like, oh yeah, I'll be able to do that again. But like being able to feel like myself, I didn't know if I was going to be able to be that woman again, because I felt damaged, if that makes sense. And so it took a really long time to build that confidence up again and feel like myself in my own skin.
Did it take therapy?
Oh yeah, girl, I did all the therapy: occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychology, regular therapy. I'm a huge component of therapy. Every time my parents get in an argument, I'm like, y'all need therapy. They're like, shut up, Christy. I think everyone does need therapy. We all are struggling with something, and therapy's helped me talk out things that I didn't even know I was still healing from like my childhood, from the stroke, just everything. So yeah, oh yeah, I loved therapy. It's helped me a lot.
When I know that, like me, you love what you do. That, what are you having?
Oh, my dad made me a paloma.
Sí, señor. Salud.
Cheers.
I want to have your parents. My parents are pretty awesome, but come on.
No, my parents are amazing. They're really young. They're in their early 50s.
You don't even have to say it, because then it's going to be like you could be my kid. Hija mía.
No.
They look really young. I've seen pictures of, I'm telling you, the way that your family moved over, like picked up and left, no questions asked. You say that you guys are like wired for trauma and disasters, but
we're like on it.
And your parents never looked in those pictures and photos. They never looked, and I'm sure they were inside, destroyed. They never looked lost. They looked like, this is what we're doing. Le vamos a dar pecho a la cosa.
Well, even on my bad days, I feel so blessed that I have them, because they would look at me like, or if I if I was in therapy and, almost fell or thought I couldn't do it, I would
Hmm.
look at my dad and he'd be like, Miha, you can do this. If anyone can do it, it's you. Or he's very much the cheerleader. And my mom would be like, okay, if you're having a bad day, that's okay. So they're both like they're just the best parents because they like equal each other out. My dad was very much growing up like, there's no crying. And, he made us like tough women, but my mom is always there to kind of like soothe you when you need it. They're just
And you
amazing.
said that you didn't cry for a year.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I didn't cry for an entire year. It took my dog dying for me to cry. And that's another reason I was going into therapy. Cause I was like, what is wrong? I couldn't,
Right.
been a big crier before, but I
Hmm.
mean, I would watch Coco and shed a tear, and I would watch Coco, couldn't cry, nothing. I was like, what is wrong with me? Because I just felt like I had like almost like a ball here that just I couldn't get out because I was just struggling so much with my emotions. And
It
that's
just
what
it takes something else. Maybe not what you were trying to work through, but it takes something as sudden as your dog.
right.
I mean, everything was going great, and I thought that, and I correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that the station you were working for was being super supportive,
Sure.
and then something happened where your contract wasn't renewed, or they told you they couldn't really work with you.
Yeah, so I've since left Denver and moved back home, which now, it's funny because it's like in those moments you think your life is over because like I worked since undergrad. So it's like undergrad, grad school at DePaul. So for 6 years in school, I've worked to get this job, to work in Denver. Like Denver was the highest market I've been to. And in TV, it's like you work to get to the highest market you can go to. And my dream was always to come back home in Chicago and have my grandparents watch me in the morning or at night, whatever. And it is what it
Yeah.
is. It just, God is a different path for me. And I remember sitting in the hospital one time, just that was the only time I ever complained that I thought, why did this happen to me? And my mom said, Miha, God detoured your path for a reason. We don't know what he's protecting you from. And so ever since that, that's all I've thought. He's pivoting my path for a reason. I don't know
Mhm.
what it is. I may never know what it is, but I feel comfort in knowing that God did this, and so He has another path for me. And
Mhm.
it's hard to is it a tough pill to swallow to think that I thought news was going to be my life and it's not anymore. Yeah, but I feel like I'm like, oh well, whatever's next. So we've just pivoted my career and we'll figure it out.
Why do you think news is not in your path anymore?
I just, to be honest, I just was kind of left with such a bad taste in my mouth that I just don't really feel. I do. I, I mean, you have a dream job, and I know
Mhm.
you know that,
Mhm.
but like, especially when you're like a day turn reporter, that's just so much hustling, and I've loved it, but I just don't know if that passion is there for me anymore, especially after everything I've been through. I really feel like this happened to me because I'm supposed to help people. And so I feel like that's what I'm going to focus on is just
I
helping.
love it. I love it. And you know what, Kristen, life is not plan A. I learned that
Oh
in
my
this
God.
career. I had a path that was going to take me into being a superstar at Univision. And I tried and tried, and I got told all sorts of things.
Sure.
And I was like, but why? Why, if I'm talented? Why, if I put all the work in?
Right.
And I swore I would never come back to Chicago. And people told me English market was not for you. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find a way. The way that my career has happened is not the way that I envisioned it when I dreamt about it at age 14. And it's a hard lesson to learn. And when it's not happening and you're not getting the opportunity and someone else's, or what you think made total sense in theory is not happening, it's very frustrating. But with
Painful.
time, it's painful. Yes, I've been in therapy since age 13.
Yep.
So you have to just make, it's not even make lemonade with the lemons that you're handed. It's just
Yeah.
accept it.
There's a point where you can mourn it, and
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't. I like to say sometimes you just have to sit in the shit. Like there are times you have bad days, and that's okay. Like sit in it and be like, okay, today's horrible, but I'm very much like tomorrow's going to be better. And so, yes, when I lost my job, was that the worst day ever? for me, yes, I was devastated. But the next morning, I was on the phone with my parents. And like, okay, what are we going to do? I was on the phone with my agent. And we're like, do we want to go to another station? Do we want to try something new entirely? And, I've been blessed with the people that have surrounded me, that like my little team is so pro Kristen that they believe that I can do anything. And so I believe that now.
Okay, who's Anna Coyle Fox, who says you've always been amazing, Kristen?
Oh, that's my best friend's mother. She's a Chicago police officer.
There you go. She's watching you.
Oh,
You see the comments? I've been popping comments as you talk. Kathy O'Keefe says, Kristen is such an amazing, inspirational woman. She can and will help so many people.
Love them. See, this is what happens. You grew up on the south side of Chicago. It's like one big family.
Se aparecen todos. I can't believe they haven't been like, what parish, Kristen?
Yeah, I know.
I know. You are already inspiring people. And what are your plans to help people concretely?
So I started my speaking business where I can just be like a pro keynote speaker. I used to do that a lot in Denver for like young minority girls.
I know.
Things like that. And so now I'm just switching it to stroke, and I have my first speaking event in a couple days. I think it's August 6th. I can't believe it's August. Yeah. It's with Google. Yeah. So we're just kind of doing that. My agent's helping me, and yeah, we're just going to keep doing that.
I love it. Natalia Barrera. Kristen, eres una guerrera. Your positive outlook is impressive, and you're such an inspiration.
Thank you.
You totally are. So where are you in your recovery?
So I'm about a year and a half almost out. So basically the first year of recovery after stroke is like someone who is healthy and normal. I use that because I don't know who's normal. Before the stroke, I wasn't normal. So like we have these neural pathways, right, that connect our brains to the movement in our arms and our legs or whatever. And so my stroke impacted my motor strip, which is what controls our hands, our legs, our feet, whatever. So that's why my left side was paralyzed. So basically what we had to do the entire first year, which we can continue to do, is show my brain that there are new pathways. We have to give them a detour kind of to remind my brain, like, okay, this is what you do with your hand. You can control it. So the first year is typically, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying what I know. The first year is typically kind of like reestablishing those pathways. And so I can still reestablish some of them, but since I'm kind of out of my year, now we're kind of focusing on fine tuning. So strengthening muscles that are still a little bit weak. So my ankle muscles are still weak. My fine motor skills on my left hand are still a little bit weak. So we're trying to like tighten those. Your fine motor skills are things that like help you pick up pennies or pop pills in your mouth, like this motion.
The little
yeah, those are still a little bit tough, but I mean, I'm where I am now, but I feel that I'm just going to continue to progress.
Who were you before the stroke, and who are you now?
Sure. I think the Kristen before the stroke is the same girl, except this woman now is much more confident. And I'm so grateful for the life that I have and the family that I have. I knew I had a great family before my stroke, but I mean, so many of my friends like couldn't believe that my parents were like, oh, we're just going to come live there. And they're like, not everybody would do that. And I'm like, oh no, I knew my parents would do that. There's no way they would ever leave me. Yeah. I mean, my uncles were like, oh, do you want us to come too? I'm like, no, my parents are fine. That's it.
Your sister was there?
Dropped everything. She came, her boyfriend came. Like, I think that I just feel so much gratitude to God and to my family that I just think that I feel truly blessed and lucky that these are the people that God put me with. I really feel like he's been not training me, but preparing me for this my whole life. Like, he's helped me have this mindset. My parents have raised us to kind of be positive and to always, look on the bright side of things, even when they're total trash and your life is a dumpster fire. Like, how can we switch it? Don't feel bad for yourself. My dad would always say that. Never feel bad for yourself. So even when people are looking at me like, oh my God, you're a mess, I never was like, my life is over. I'm like, it's going to get better. I just have to put in the work. What am I going to do to make it better? And since I was raised like that, when I was facing my stroke recovery, I'm like, oh, we went into a meeting one time with the doctors that said that I was probably going to use a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And my dad looked at me and he's like, we're not listening to them. And I never thought about it again after that meeting, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be in a wheelchair. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, I felt like that's
Oh
not
my
like,
gosh, Kristen, this is fantastic. Do you know that I've had to live a long life to feel that I can contradict that kind of talk?
mm-hmm. It's
Believe it
hard.
or not, believe it or not, if a doctor, a teacher, a professor, a boss would tell me this is what it's going to be, I'd go, okay.
Oh,
Now, I do have to say that there were moments like when they told me, I had an agent who's actually a good friend of mine who told me, you're never going to succeed in English because you have an accent and there's a ton of girls that are like you who don't have an accent. And I left his office devastated. And my parents were like, well, it's okay. You know, you're fine at Univision. It should be fine. And I don't know what came over me. And I'm like, well, if the accent is the issue, I'm going to go take lessons to fix it.
mm-hmm.
And I went and did it and put the work in, and look at where I'm now.
You're
So
your charm now.
my accent is my charm, but for many years I didn't think it would be. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know how many times I thought someone was going to call the station and be like, who allowed that girl who can't speak the language to be on TV? I think GN protected me from that. I'm sure a bunch of people did.
Oh my God, viewers who write in are so mean, but that's where being Latino comes in good, because it's like, oh, well, you've been getting yelled at your whole life. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
these viewer comments have nothing on what my grandma said about my dress. Like, I don't care.
Or the freshman 20 that I gained that my mom said, stop trying to fit into an 8. You're a 10. Te comiste toda la comida china at 2 in the morning. So now
Yeah,
you got to put in the work.
yeah,
So, so that isn't. It's so good that that your parents raised you that way and that you believe them, right? Because
right.
when you have kids, you'll know not everyone comes wired like that, Kristen. So, you know, the way it resonates with you may not resonate the same way with your sister
Right.
or with a cousin, right? So the way that I was raised was the same way my brother was raised, and my brother is different than me. So that
Mm,
you took that to heart and you were able to access that when this happened to you, it's fantastic, and it's a lesson that I'm glad that you're giving me today and you're giving all our viewers, because it's true. You don't have to sit there and just take the information in as it is. You go for the second opinion.
well, what kind of life do you want to live? Just because
Hmm.
they didn't like me in Denver anymore doesn't mean somebody else won't. It's just,
Hmm.
what is the life I want to live? Well, I don't want to be in news anymore, so I'm going to figure it out and do whatever I want to do. Was it painful? Yeah, but I'm in charge of my life. Nobody else is. And that's
Hmm.
just how I think about it.
I love it. I love it. So you have one speaking engagement already,
Yes.
and I know that you're doing therapy here. And were you doing yoga before this? Because I feel like you're full of energy and you're like a little spark plug. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh
no,
my God.
like CrossFit, cycle, spinning
Right.
class. And so yoga really came into play because it was kind of the best exercise I could do for where my body was.
Hmm.
And I really need to like chill out and get centered. And so that's how I started yoga. And like meditations really helped me kind of clear my head, especially on bad days where I feel overwhelmed. Because there
Hmm.
are bad days. Like, sure, I'm positive, but there are days where I'm like, oh my God, my arm sucks. I can't run anymore. I'm getting gorda. Like, there are bad days, and so I have no career, and I just, yoga allows me to kind of recenter myself and say, okay, get those negative thoughts out of here. We got to push forward and have a good day and figure it out.
All right. So, what is your message for people of all ages? Because someone who is 53 here has been watching us and says that you've been quite the inspiration. What is your message for stroke survivors of any age? How should they embrace this if there is a way to embrace it?
Always have hope. I think no matter what situation you're in, if you have that hope, that's what keeps you going and pushing. And I always had hope that I would get healthy again and I would be where I am. But if somebody told me after my stroke, like, hey, this is going to take a year and a half to get here, I would have been like, no way, that's too long. But I mean, I've been through it and it really wasn't that long, I think, but I held on to that hope. And I think if you have hope, it'll get you to wherever you need to be.
Well, I think I can't wait to hear you speak in one of these events.
Oh, thank you.
And where can people find you? I have your Instagram right there, but what other social media do you have that people can follow you? A website, an
Yeah, follow
email?
on Instagram. That's kind of where I'm most active, and I post a lot of stroke recovery things. I started a new Instagram page called Beauty in the Brain, where I kind of focus on confidence and brain health, because when you go through something traumatic like that and you lose yourself, it's hard. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Instagram, and then Facebook, Kristen Aguirre. That's kind of where I post a lot of things as well. I mean, I'm on Twitter, but not really.
So that one, Beauty and the Brain. Do you see it there?
Yes, that's it.
Beauty and the Brain and instant Kristen Aguirre on Instagram and on Facebook.
Yes.
I'm glad you're home with your family. I'm glad you have this positive attitude.
And thank you so much for having me.
And for me, guys, I don't know Kristen. I don't know her in person. I had never heard her voice, but I feel a connection to her because of how hard she worked to get to where she was and how she's been able to deal with this huge curveball that life sent her way. And, she is younger than me, but this goes to show you that you can learn from people who are younger than you, and they can sometimes be wiser. Mándale un beso a tus papás. Y que le mando un beso a tus papás.
What?
I'm sending a kiss to your parents.
Oh, they're watching somewhere. They love you. They're obsessed. All my friends too were like, oh, you didn't tell us you're going to be on with Anna. They love you.
No, well, we love you, and we hope to see you soon in person. Por favor, cuídate, wear your mask.
Oh, no, not in COVID. I don't want to see you in person.
I don't want to see anybody in person.
Yeah.
The other day, is the Google thing virtual?
No, it's not. It's just with the Google. It's like with their team. It's a retreat.
Yeah.
They need inspirational speakers, so I'm just speaking with them.
Oh, I think it's going to be great. You're going to be awesome. Have a great rest of your evening, and enjoy your drink. Salud.
Yeah, salud.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was Kristen Aguirre. Thank you so much for joining us. What did you think about her? Isn't she amazing? And that's the kind of thing that I'd like to do with this Wednesday wine. I haven't drank that much. With this Wednesday wine, if you're watching it on YouTube because you're too cool for Facebook, if you're watching it after it aired live, just find these stories that sometimes I can't tell around town because around town has to be active and visual, and tell these stories. Tell stories like Kristen's, who can teach us so much as a stroke survivor at age 31, pride of Southside Chicago, and kind of share what we can learn from each other. And I see a lot of you guys telling me about your own fears or about the things that stop you. And if Kristen can teach us anything, is that she hasn't allowed anything to stop her, that she's done the work, she's put it in, she stayed positive, and she is fantastic. So Brenda, if you tune in a little late, you can rewatch this. This stays on Facebook and it's also on my YouTube channel. And I will see you tomorrow morning. I'm actually anchoring. So there's no around town tomorrow. So I'm going to anchor from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. So wish me luck going to bed at a decent hour today so I can get my beauty rest and not look like my mother likes to say, La paloma del diluvio on the air. My favorite quote from Kristen is that you can sit for a little bit and then you have to move on and stay positive, right? So I hope this was an uplifting conversation for you. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Salud.